What's good, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome to the second episode of Kick It AFCON, a podcast brought to you by VOA Africa, focused on nothing but the 2023 Africa Cup of Nations being held in Ivory Coast. I'm your host, Mike Hove, and I'm joined in studio by my good friends and co-hosts and AFCON champions, Sonny Young and Kahli Abdu.
AFCON
Sonny.
champions! What an introduction, Mike!
Of course, we're here to win it. Man, oh man, gentlemen, what a tournament it has been. We've seen Cinderella sing, we've seen fairy tales be sung, we've seen nightmares be accomplished. What a tournament it has been. Kahli, your thoughts?
Yeah, it's been amazing. A lot of upsets, a lot of shock results, and just small teams that refuse to be beaten.
The resilience seems to be the theme. I'm calling this tournament the nightmares and the dreams and nightmares.
Nightmares for at least a few teams.
Yes.
Ghana,
Yep.
Algeria, and Kahli mentioned the small teams. I would like to give a shout out for Mauritania.
Yes.
First ever Nations Cup victory. They beat Algeria 1-0, and I certainly didn't expect them to win that, Mike. I thought the Algerians would go through.
And here they are, standing tall. Mauritania is among the teams that made it to the round of 16. Cape Verde, Guinea-Bissau. Man, what a round of 16 I'm expecting to see. Talk to me more about that, Kahli.
Yeah, just like I said, players that want to make a name for themselves, teams that are teams, solid teams, coaches who have built a dynamic of unknown players, quote-unquote unknown players. You know, you talk about the guy of the tournament right now with 5 goals, you know, from Equatorial Guinea.
And Sue.
You know, and Sue playing as a defender.
He's a right back, but they're playing him up front for the next.
So I think it's a testament to just togetherness of groups, you know, that we're seeing in this tournament. It's spectacular.
Now, speaking of the coaches, gentlemen, let's delve into the news that seems to be rocking Africa, that seems to be rocking AFCON, Sonny. A couple of teams already sacked their coaches. Here we're talking about the Giants, right? Ghana sacked their coach. Ivory Coast sacked their coach. Tanzania.
Even though they're still
in the tournament. Well, hoping to make it into the tournament. It's still in it to win it. Tanzania suspended their coach. Algeria resigned. A couple of coaches that seem to be falling by the wayside.
You know, in some way, Mike, it really speaks to the prestige of this tournament that they get rid of their head coaches so quickly. With we're not even at the knockout stage yet, and these guys are padding their resumes. But it's quite a shocking tournament in so many ways.
But for me, it's also speaking to the expectations that they had of these teams, right? Ivory Coast. Who would have thought that Ivory Coast would be hanging by a thread? The coach had to go. They looked at it that way. They saw as though he was not putting in the right strategies. The team wasn't living up to expectations. They lost 2 of 3. Just wasn't looking good. Ghana, same thing. The sad part for me about Ghana was how we saw some players still stand out. Mohamed Kudus still playing like Kudus for kudos. But somehow it just wasn't enough to make it.
Yeah, it's tough for them because I think, I was looking at their squad list and compared to their squad that they sent to Qatar, they seem to have brought in more experienced players, but I don't know if that helped or it hurt them. Either way, they're still in transition, and they got to figure that out. Speaking of Ivory Coast, I think what really did them in, the coaching staff that is that lost Equatorial Guinea and the fashion they lost.
4-0.
It was really dominant.
Correct me if I'm wrong, the worst ever home loss by Ivory Coast.
Likely, arguably the Ivory Coast and who did South Africa beat 4-0? Those are the highest losing teams in the tournament right now.
Yeah, they beat Namibia 4-0.
Namibia 4-0. Yeah. Those are Equatorial Guinea thumping or thrashing Ivory Coast 4-0 was nothing that nobody saw coming. Once again, like I said when we opened this podcast, Equatorial Guinea is really riding on a high wave right now. Ivory Coast is just not looking good.
Yeah, and with the players that they have. And actually, that game they lost 4-0. It could have ended 4-4.
Right.
Because they miss incredible chances that if they played that game again, more than likely they bury those chances, and it'll be a totally different situation.
Being clinical is very important. I mean, this doesn't just apply to Ivory Coast, by the way. There's a couple of teams where they just had questions with no answers, and the opposition had questions but received answers. Here, if we even look at Cameroon, right? Cameroon making it through just by a needle, 3-2 last-minute victory.
Yeah.
They asked the right questions and got the right answers. So for me, that really makes a loud statement.
Yeah.
You know, in terms of statements, Mike, that comeback, that pulling out that victory by the Indomitable Lions, it really speaks to their nickname. Indomitable spirit.
Yes.
To get through to that next round, to find that goal at the end. Such a proud team.
And that makes them dangerous going into the next round. You know, Nigeria have to watch out, because when you hang in there, you know, by the skin of your teeth, and you score a winning goal and you're still in it, you know, it builds confidence, you know, going into the next round for sure.
But now let's talk a little more about the fairy tales, right? Mauritania, they're looking good. I will even point out my boys Bafana looking good, 4-0.
Right.
What a beautiful victory. Cape Verde looking good.
Yeah.
Guinea-Bissau looking good.
Equatorial Guinea.
Equatorial Guinea looking
absolutely.
good. What does it look like for these teams? Is it likely that they could make it past around the 16?
Sure. It's great that Cape Verde play Mauritania, and we don't know who's going to go through, because those are teams that are playing like teams like we've been talking about, and you know, one of them will go through. So either way, a smaller team that we didn't expect to be in knockout phases most likely will be in the quarterfinals, and that's just great for the tournament.
I like the border setup. We have Cameroon, Nigeria,
Right
and
there.
we also have Equatorial Guinea and Guinea in one of the round of 16 matches. So it'll be interesting.
Yeah.
These are going to be exciting games, gentlemen. But to go back to Ghana, I'm looking forward to us having our guest that's going to be joining us pretty
Absolutely.
soon. She's going to be helping us unpack more about what exactly went wrong with the Black Stars. Now, the good part about this, gentlemen, we're all about equality, right? So we want to hear from a black queen who's going to be joining us, breaking it down for us in terms of AFCON. But I hear she's actually with us now. Gentlemen, we are joined... we don't have her yet. She's going to be joining us soon. But let's bring it back as we set up for her to join us and talk more about Ghana, right? The squad, like you highlighted, the squad that went to the World Cup was a lot younger.
Yeah.
Squad that comes to AFCON is a little more experienced in comparison to age. What seems to have been different there?
What shocked me about when I watched them, I watched, it seemed like a lot of nerves. Because the game that they threw away, basically, because they had a 2-goal lead, they threw it away. I saw mistakes that, 9 out of 10, they don't happen. These are experienced players playing for huge clubs in Europe. It just seemed like the occasion got the best of them. I feel like the players are in their heads a little bit, maybe thinking about the fact that they haven't had a lot of success in this tournament and they don't want to choke. And when you're in your head like that, usually the pressure gets to you. So I don't know. I don't know what exactly happened with them.
The interesting part about that is technically experience is when it's supposed to stand out, right?
Yeah.
Because you're used to such high occasions. Like I said, they had the names, the Mohamed Kudus, Inaki Williams. The only big name that probably was missing from that squad was Thomas Partey.
Partey, right.
But the rest, they still had the names. So in terms of why they played that way, it's really questionable, because this is the time where that World Cup experience, some of these guys did play at the World Cup.
Right.
Kudus played at the World Cup. Inaki
Right.
Williams played at the World Cup. That experience should have translated. Look at Morocco, right?
Yeah.
Morocco may not be shining bright, but their experience,
Right.
you can see the seasoning
Yeah.
is paying off. But gentlemen, we're now joined by Blessing Agbomadzi. She is our black queen that's joining us live. She actually plays in Morocco, Sonny, but she is a black queen. She plays for Ghana's national women's team. Blessing, thank you so much for taking time out to be with us. How you doing, sis?
I'm good. I'm very well, and it's a pleasure.
No, we're really
Thank
looking
you.
forward to having you on the show. Let's start off there. Just as you joined us, we're talking about Ghana at AFCON. Talk to me. So it's like, what exactly happened? What are your thoughts on that? What happened there?
Oh my goodness. Wow, Ghana. Well, honestly, my way of understanding I would say I'm a defender, so let me talk about the defense. I see, in defense, especially when it comes to the center backs, pairing the 4 and 5, one has to be a marker. I mean, doing much of the dirty work, and the other one has to be the sweeper. I mean, that person who is that calm and dribbler, that kind of thing. And the other one has to be the box to box. I mean, the defender, typical defender. But looking at the Black Stars, they are pairing. Both of them are kind of offensive minded. Yeah, so somehow I think that's one of the problem. And I think they sometimes lose concentration or focus ending of the game. Most time they lose focus or concentration when it's time. I mean, almost time for the game. I don't really know what the problem is, honestly. I really don't know. So that is how I see it, and it's so disappointing, honestly. It
Hi,
is.
hi, Blessing. This is Sonny Young at VOA headquarters in Washington. The Black Stars gave up a 2-goal lead against Mozambique late in the
Yeah.
match. They surrendered 2 goals in injury time, and that really set off some angry demonstrations by Ghanaian fans. What was your reaction to the Ghanaian fans after that match?
Well, somehow I understand their emotions because they really, really love Ghanaians. I mean, the Black Stars, and they are there to support someone. Literally leaves their work, their family, whatever, just to be with Black Stars to support them. So you can understand where they are coming from. But also, it's not a good action, I mean, to be attacking them. I mean, the deed has already been done. So there is nothing we can do about it. So I don't appreciate them attacking the players. That's not cool. But I understand them too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Blessing, hi, this is Kahli. I have a question in relation to that. So obviously, you mentioned the fact that the defenders lost concentration here and there, and that cost you that match ultimately against Egypt. Usually in
Yeah.
football, the players make mistakes and the coaches pay for the mistakes. One of the things I was curious about was the fact that you had a young team in Qatar, and Chris Hughton was part of the setup as a technical advisor then, and now he was brought forward to be the coach. And it seemed like, he brought in more experienced players, to mix with the younger players. And ultimately, mistakes cost you guys versus Egypt. Everybody sees that. Is the thinking that, with him being fired, that you're going to go in a different direction and maybe still, bring in more experienced players? Or is it just one of those things where because you lost, there's a lot of emotions running high and, they decided to just let him go? What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I'm sure he's not the first person experiencing this. Like after a tournament or after a bad performance, a coach has been sacked. I'm not sure he's the first person. So, well, this is football. It happens to everyone. I mean, any other coach can be in his shoes. I mean, the way they let him go. So I'm not sure it's his intentions to be on this side. I mean, to be this bad. You get. Sometimes said I am a player and understand because a coach might taught a player something to do on the field. I mean, during the training ground. But when you get inside the field, it's different game ball altogether. What
Now,
the coach might taught you to do, it might be different from what you are experiencing on the field. So you being as a matured footballer or as a matured player, you should be able to handle the situation without even expecting the coach to instruct you to do something. So somehow, well, the coach has to be blamed, and somehow too the players too has to be blamed. But sacking him, well, that's the decision of the FA. So, like I said, it can happen to anybody else.
I, I,
So we just have to embrace it and move on.
Thank you. I just wanted to follow up really quickly. In your opinion, should they have continued with him just to keep building on, the team growing. There's been a tournament in Qatar, and now this tournament. Because when I look at history, your team has struggled in this tournament. It's not
Yeah.
necessarily this coach, in my opinion, of course. But I'm just curious if you think that continuity might have helped you guys going forward.
Yeah, one thing too is because they keep changing the coaches, the team keeps changing as well because every coach with their perception of players. So the moment you change a coach, maybe let's say for example, Kudus, for example, a coach might like the way he's playing, and the next coach will come and he'll be like, no, I don't like the way he plays. You get. So if we keep changing coaches every day, changing them, that is how the team will keep changing. But if we maintain a particular coach and we give them some time to build the team from the scratch, I think that will be better. But they don't have that time, or let me say, they are not patient enough to give one particular coach the maximum time he might need to build the team. So that keeps on disturbing us. So yeah, I'm not in support of it. I believe in keeping a particular coach and let him build the team from the scratch, and let's see how it will go.
Now, Blessing, I want to move the conversation a little more further from the Black Stars and just looking at the tournament in
Okay.
general, right? We've seen a lot of Cinderella stories, a lot of small teams playing amazing football, and vice versa. We've seen some big teams playing less impressive football. What do you think this tournament says about African football and its development of the sport on the continent?
Yeah, you can. I'm in Morocco, so I know much about Morocco now. Comparing Morocco, or let me say, North Africa, to some part of the Africas, North Africa is really, really developing when it comes to football. So you can imagine the kind of football they are playing out there, comparing it to other side of the Africans. So development is very important. And Morocco, as a country, they are very, very developing in football, in in football in general. Trust me, they are doing what they have the facility, they have everything that takes to be there. They are almost there. They are doing their best. So you can imagine the kind of performance the Moroccans are putting up the AFCON. So that is, especially when it comes to Ghana, we lack it, honestly. Where Morocco is now in terms of development, we are not half closer to them. So that one too is, disturbing us because we lack the facility, we lack everything that has to prepare us as players for tournaments. We lack it, we don't have it, and it's kind of disturbing. So I think Morocco has it all for now.
Hi, Blessing. Sonny again. I know you mentioned how you're talking with us now from Morocco. Any general thoughts on the overall organization in Ivory Coast from what you've seen? Are you impressed with how they've pulled off this 34th Nations Cup?
Yeah. That's true. Beside, I was in Ivory Coast for the Women's Champions League, which was last year in November. So yes, they have. They have done a great job putting up together because it's not easy as West Africa to do that. It's not easy, but for them, they really, really try, and I'm amazed, honestly.
Now, speaking, I guess sticking to the development of the sport itself, you brought in the women's element. Over the couple of years since when was the last Women's World Cup? Last year.
Last year.
We've seen a lot of
Yeah.
investment in football and women's football and African football in general. This AFCON, them announcing a lot of money pouring into African football. How does this help the development of the sport for the men and of course the women them too?
Well, I think it's for a country, you hosting such tournaments, it's one of the advantage for you, and also we the players too. It's helping us a lot in such tournaments. It's very interesting to be in such tournaments, the experience, everything. So It's helping and it's developing, especially Africans, the countries. If you had the opportunity to host such tournaments, it helps to develop your country a lot. So yeah, it's good. So far, so good.
But do you think we're catching up to the bigger leagues in Europe? We see Saudi Arabia growing.
Um,
Are we catching up to any of these leagues?
in terms of facility or in terms of salary, in terms of accommodation, um, well, not yet.
Hmm.
I mean, comparing the North Africans, it's a bit okay, but comparing, especially West Africa, nah, we are not there. Honestly, not at all. It's very, very, very bad in West Africa, but I think in North Africa, they are trying to get there.
I have a
Yeah.
question about uh, salaries. You know, as a player,
Mm.
I wonder when players are going to these tournaments. You know, obviously your personal pride, you know, the national pride is always there, right? So when you get to the
Yeah.
tournaments and you start having problems with your FA because of salaries, does that really affect you as a player?
Yeah, it does, honestly. I don't know much about the men, but let me talk about the ladies because I
Hmm.
have been in with the ladies. So yeah, it does. Honestly, it does affect us because money money stops everything, and also it motivates you as a young player coming up because if no money, what else? Apart from you having a passion for football, yet we are playing for money because Africa, we are not that much rich as you can say. So as a young girl, I mean, coming up, you need money. So it affects us. We we wish we could get all the necessary support in terms of finance that we need, but somehow we don't even get it. Sometimes they even promise us some kind of money, but unfortunately we don't even get it, and it's kind of embarrassing, honestly. So it affects us, honestly, it affects us so many times when we go for tournaments and our money are not paid. Yeah.
Yeah, hi, Blessing. Sonny again. Following up on the money aspect, a record amount of prize money is being offered at this Nations Cup. I think the winner
Mm.
will get $7 million. Do you see the financial incentive kind of spurring on maybe some of these smaller teams who have been doing well in Ivory Coast?
Well, yeah, I mean, with this kind of amount, I don't know if truly, I don't know if it's the players that is getting that kind of an amount or is the federation that's getting the amount. But so far as money is involved, I think it's okay, it's good, and anybody that deserves it, will benefit from it. Yeah, so it's good.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So now, I want to stick more in terms of the development of the sport, Blessing, and talk more about your experience. We've been talking about Morocco. We've been talking about Ghana. You've played in both leagues. You've
Hmm.
represented Ghana at national level. What's your experience been like? Talk to me a little more about that because I'm trying to understand more in terms of the development of the sport and why AFCON is so
Well,
big.
yeah, okay. Well, I always say because I am with the ladies, so I will always talk about the ladies
Mm-hmm.
because I don't know much about the men. Yeah. So when it comes to Morocco, and Ghana, local leagues and national, yeah. At first, when it comes to the national team, let me go there first. At
Mm-hmm.
first, we used to score Morocco anytime we meet them. I mean, Ghana. Anytime we meet Morocco, we used to score them like very well. But trust me, now it will be very difficult to score Morocco because they have developed, they have it, like I said, it has everything that takes to make the players ready for each and every tournament. But Ghana, we don't have it. We are not there yet. So Morocco is developing like they are developing so fast in terms of sports. So comparing Morocco to Ghana as it is now,
Mm-hmm.
like I said, it will be very difficult for Ghana to be able to overcome Morocco because Morocco is playing good football now. Honestly, yeah, Ghana, we are still there. We are trying. I mean, when it comes to the ladies, yes, we are still doing our best. Yeah, but like I said, I don't know how it will end when we meet Morocco as it is now because Morocco is doing well. But when it comes to the local leagues, yeah, comparing Morocco local leagues to Ghana, yeah, Morocco is a bit ahead of Ghana. Yeah.
Yeah, coming back to the tournament right now, what are your thoughts about teams that have scaled through to the next round, and do you have any predictions?
Wow. As for now, I think Senegal is coming up. Morocco is there. Nigeria too. Yeah, and I don't know, Cape Verde or I don't even know their name.
Yeah,
Whatever.
Cape Verde. Yeah, you see?
The
Yeah.
interesting part is her saying, "I don't even know their
Yeah,
name yet. They're
Yeah.
prospering." That's what I love about
yeah,
Yeah,
this tournament.
yeah,
they are also doing well. I mean, this AFCON itself, it's kind of full of
yeah.
surprises, It's full of surprises. So, I mean, let's see. Let's see. Like I said, the best team just wins. So, but I'm rooting for Senegal, Morocco, and let's see.
So,
Yeah.
Blessing, Mike at the opening of the podcast was talking about nightmares. Do you feel like it's been a nightmare for Mo Salah that he's been?
Yeah, of course. Yes, the last time I was even having a discussion with a friend, and I'm like, nah, it's like this particular tournament, Egypt is kind of struggling because last 2 years, I guess, Egypt and Senegal was the finalists, but this year they are kind of struggling, and Salah too is kind of injured, so
Mm.
you could see this tournament is kind of ups and down for them. But I hope they comes up.
All right, Blessing. Well, we have to start wrapping up now, so we're gonna have to let go of you. But we really appreciate you taking time out to be with us on our podcast today. And listen, peace be with you. And I feel sorry for Ghana, so sorry. But thank you.
Ah,
Gentlemen,
fine.
let's start wrapping up here. Kahli, we're gonna start off by wrapping up, focusing on Super Eagles. Super Eagles play Cameroon in the next game. Let's wrap up focusing on that. We see Osimhen still hasn't been putting up the greater performance. What are your thoughts on the game?
yeah, it's because the team is not putting the performances that they should. They have a great squad of players, but like I've always said, coaching makes a huge difference. So he's maybe suffering because of that. But I'm going to say something about Mahrez. When you talk about nightmares, the player who I feel
Riyad
so
Mahrez.
sorry for is Mahrez, because Mahrez has won everything at club level. Obviously, Pep Man City, and this would have been, the
cherry on top of his legacy, right?
But so that's why I really rated their team. If you remember, we were doing the prediction, so that's a nightmare. But yeah, speaking of Nigeria, Cameroon, Osimhen has a lot of weight on his shoulders, so many eyeballs on him, and we hope to see the best of Osimhen in the next games coming up.
Who would have thought that Osimhen would be the one to prosper over so many other players that we're seeing fall into the wayside? It's really interesting. Sonny?
In terms of the Nigeria-Cameroon match, I gotta believe the Indomitable Lions will, take some inspiration from the way they scored that last goal against Gambia, and that it could possibly carry over against the Super Eagles. But
Really careful.
But yeah, I think it's going to be a great match between two of the giants in African football.
As we speak, as based on all the round of 16, that seems to be the game to watch. So I'm looking forward to seeing how this turns out. Once again, for me personally, as a Manchester United fan, I want to see if Onana gets to play. So that's going to be
They seem
really
to play
intriguing.
better without him.
That's the interesting part is he flew in. The game that he did play, they got trashed out by Senegal. And then the game that he doesn't play, where he's on the bench, they excel. But gentlemen, we have just under a minute left. Let's start wrapping this up. Sonny, I'm going to hand it over to you.
Well, I'm having a great time, and I'm wearing a Malaga jersey this evening. And a quick shout out for Carlos Kameni, who played for Malaga and won the Nations Cup, I think, back in 2002. Over to Kahli.
Yes, just like Sonny said, we're enjoying this tournament, and we have some heavy bangers of games coming up, and there will be more surprises. I'll say that much.
So as we wrap up, gentlemen, we have just about 9 seconds. Thank you so much for tuning in to the second episode of our Kick It AFCON. Stay tuned for more nightmares and more dreams. I'm Mike Hove. Good night.